Hi friends! I was looking at some of like the new upcoming releases of books that I was excited for, mainly when I was like scrolling through the little tab on my Kindle app that's like upcoming releases we think that you'll love. And then every single time I fall for it. I click that little see all button and knowing that every time it never actually shows me any more books and the see all just shows me everything that I just saw anyway, but hoping to see more. Then that kind of just prompted me going down a rabbit hole of looking up all of the books, mainly that are like mystery, thriller, horror, or fantasy books that are coming out over the course of the next end of 2024. I compiled them all together and I thought we could just like talk about them. I don't know a lot about these books, so we're gonna learn together. So if that sounds like fun, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll add timestamps below if there's like a certain genre that you are looking for out of those like 3 main ones, but I'm gonna go ahead and start with fantasy and then we'll go from there. Oh, Dory's gonna join us. Perfect. Do I need to scoot over just a little bit? Hopefully make room to put the books here. The City in Glass by Nevo comes out on October 1st of 2024. I just read the first book in the Singing Hill cycle by this author, The Empress of Salt and Fortune, and I loved it. I immediately reread it because I loved it that much. And there's like a part in there that kind of changes up everything. Like you're confused for most of it and then everything kind of clicks together. So I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be so good on a reread. So I just went ahead and reread it like immediately. So I'm super excited about this because I don't think that this is part of that, what's the word? Series. Duh. Oh, it's a standalone. A demon, an angel, a city that burns at the heart of the world. The demon Vitring, immortal, powerful, and capricious, loves the dazzling city of Azrael. She has mothered, married, and maddened the city and its people for generations, and built it into a place of joy and desire, revelry and riot. And then the angels come and the city falls. Also, another important thing to note about me, I don't love reading synopses because I just feel like they give too much away. So most of the time, I'm probably just gonna read like a little bit of the blurb, get a vibe for it, see how we're feeling about it. This one I already know I'm excited about because I've read from this author before. I can't wait. And I love the idea of a standalone, since all that I will have read from them so far will be a part of that one series. It says, The City in Glass is both a brilliantly constructed history and an epic love story of death and resurrection, memory and transformation, redemption and desire strong enough to burn a world to ashes and build it anew. Yes, please. Oh, and it's a novella. Awesome. This one I thought was interesting because it's a new book by Veronica Roth. I think that this is an adult, like urban fantasy book, and this also says that it's been tagged under novellas. So we'll have to see. But I was absolutely a Divergent girly. Okay, I wrapped up in my pretty little fingers, and then oh my god. When Cheyenne Woodley and who's that guy who plays Augustus Waters? Ansel Elgort were cast into the movie, say no more. My little by heart could not handle it, okay? But then I was literally just talking to my partners the other day about how they just like didn't like, I was like, do you remember how they just like didn't make that last movie? How absolutely unhinged. I went to go rewatch it and I had watched a few of them and then I was like, where's the last one? And I was like, why do I not remember the last one? And I was like, oh, because they didn't create it. That's it. I haven't read anything by Veronica Roth since, but I thought, oh yeah, I do have another book. I think this was like an adult sci-fi book that they wrote. I didn't read it yet, but this looks like it's fantasy. Step into a city where monsters feast. Did I say the name of this? It's When Among Crows, I think so. On human emotions, knights split their souls to make their weapons, and witches always take more than they give. Alrighty. That comes out very soon, especially from when you're probably watching this, May 14th of 2024. If you were also a Divergent fan, let me know if like this is something that you're excited about or if like you couldn't care less, because I honestly could not tell you how I would vibe with their writing now. Okay, getting into a couple of sequels in the fantasy space, a few of which you'll see a trend that even though I put them on the list, hold on. Sorry, my cat apparently just needed to use the litter box right at that moment. Oh yeah, okay, so you might notice a trend where I did put a few upcoming fantasy sequels on this list, even though I have not read any of the ones in the series yet. But there's still ones that I'm excited about and that if you have read them, you might be excited about and want to know about. And the first one of that is honestly one of my most anticipated releases, despite the fact that I have not read the first one, and it's mainly because I was waiting for this one to come out to start the series, and that is Heavenly Tyrant, which is the second in the Iron Widow series. Now, I'm not going to read the synopsis of this one because I, again, haven't read the first one and I don't want it to give anything away. All I really know about the first book in that series is that I've heard that it's poly, and that's all I really needed to know. Okay. I know it's taken a few years for the sequel to come out, and it comes out on December 24th, 2024. I am ready. I'm excited because I want to start the series. I think I'm gonna love it. Another book in a series that I haven't read yet, but I am excited to talk about, and I'm excited for it to come out because, again, this one even more so because it wraps up the entire series. I was like, I need this to come out before I start the series because there's no way I'm going to take the time to reread these books, okay? And that is The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. The 5th book in the series, and it's like the final book in this section of the series. I believe, don't quote me on that. So like you can read this as like a whole, and then there's gonna be more, but like this rounds out all of the plot lines. It's called Wind and Truth. On Goodreads, it doesn't have a cover yet. It's okay, because honestly, those covers aren't my favorite anyway. Might be a hot take. I have no idea how people feel about the covers. I'm definitely not reading the synopsis of this book, since it's the 5th in the series, but it does come out December 6th, 2024. All I know about this is that it is epic and long, and I love Brandon Sanderson, and since I loved the Mistborn series so much, I just feel like this is gonna be my heart and soul and joy and everything. But given that the books are like over 1,000 pages long each, I knew that I wanted to wait until that series was like rounding out for sure before I started reading it, because chances are I'll probably just like read them, like marathon them, maybe, if I can handle that. But either way, I don't want to leave too much of a gap between each book or I'm gonna forget everything that happens. I don't hold on to plots very well for very long, and I don't want to have to go back through and reread those just to like move on to the next book, because that'll take forever. So that comes out here toward the end of the year. I'm excited about that. Speaking of I forget about plots, is the 3rd book in the Crowns of Nioxia. Yes, I have read the first 2. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Series. The first one is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I read that whenever I was deciding that I was going to finally cancel my Kindle Unlimited subscription, and I was like, okay, what are the books that I actually wanted to read on Kindle Unlimited? That was one of them, and then Divine Rivals was one of them, so I was like, okay, I gotta get this through. And I ended up back-to-back reading Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, whatever the second one is, because I loved it so much. It was a vibe. It is like a fantasy vampire, like romantasy with a trial challenge competition component to it, enemies to lovers vibes. I liken it to like, I feel like I've heard people describe it as like if you liked Twilight, like Twilight when you were younger, this is like, you could like this as an adult now. And I could definitely see that. It's more of like, it's a very slow burn in my opinion. And sometimes Kindle Unlimited books just don't work for me, especially romantasy books, because I feel like they just like get so strung out. They just take forever to get to the point. I feel like they're so overwritten. Not all of them, just a lot of the ones that I've read, but this one really worked for me. And the 3rd book comes out in November 19th of this year. I'm gonna be honest with you though, do I remember what happened in that 2nd book? No, I do not. Did I give it like 4 or 5 stars? Yes, I did. So I'll have to like look up a video or something, or like look at the Wikipedia to refresh my memory on that one. There's also a chance that this might not be following the same characters. It might be like the same main characters. You know what I mean? It might be a companion. I feel like one of you in the comments, I'm so sorry I don't remember who, possibly told me this. That like it was a duology and then like this 3rd one is an offshoot, something like that. Oh my god, a fantasy book I'm so excited for, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. This is the same author of the, it's a really long title and it is escaping me. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I gave that book 5 stars at the end of 2022? I think is when I read it, and it was just like the cozy fantasy lighthearted vibe that I was looking for. It had a found family component to it, and it was just like everything that I'm wanting in that genre to kind of break up some of the darker fantasy and horror and mystery thriller books that I read. I thought that romance, like just general romance, contemporary romance, one could call it, was gonna be that for me, and it just so far has not been. So I think this like cozy fantasy, cozy romantasy category is gonna work for me for that. This is not a series, I don't think. It just is set in the same world, I believe. And that comes out December 24th, 2024. This I think was also on my list of like books that I wanted to read this year. My 24 books for 2024. I think I mentioned that in this video. I think I mentioned this in that video, but don't quote me on that. Oh, S.T. Gibson. Okay, listen. A Dowry of Blood, one of my favorite books of all time. I literally just reread it, loved it, adore it, would die for A Dowry of Blood. An Education in Malice. Oh, that was so bad. Oh, that was so disappointing. But that just came out like a few months ago, and S.T. Gibson is already coming out with another book. Evocation, it is apparently a start of a series, so that's going to be interesting, seeing how this author writes, because both of those other books were standalones, even though they take place in like the same kind of world, but like that's our world with vampires, so it just has like the same kind of lore behind vampires. And then there was also like a little cameo from one of the characters from A Dowry of Blood, but it wasn't a sequel. And honestly, I would say that you need to read A Dowry of Blood before you read that, just because I would say just read A Dowry of Blood instead of reading that. Just skip it, to be honest. I really haven't seen like anyone give that a good review. I'm sure there are people out there that love it, but it's few and far between from what I've seen. But this one comes out soon too. It comes out at the end of the month, May 28th. The Devil Knows Your Name, David, I don't know how to pronounce that character's last name, so we're just gonna call him David. As a teen, David was a psychic prodigy, operating under the shadow of his oppressive occultist father. Now, years after his father's death and rapidly approaching his 13th birthday, he is content with the high-powered life he's curated as a Boston attorney. His 30th birthday. I thought 13th seemed a little weird. Sorry, I don't have dyslexia, but it's a little bit hard for my brain to always compute whenever I'm trying to read things out loud, and it will just like make up the closest word to it whenever I'm reading out loud. So just to clarify, he's not a 13-year-old attorney. It's his 30th birthday. It says moonlighting is a powerful medium for his secret society. But with power comes a price, and the devil has come to collect an ancestral deal. David's days are numbered, and death looms at his door. It's queer, it's fantasy, it's romance, it's S.D. Gibson. Please, please let it be more like A Dowry of Blood than An Education of Malice. Oh, great. Right after that, another one that I am hoping is more like one of my favorite books and not like the other book, which is Tidal Creatures by Sean McGuire. This is the third book in the Alchemical Journeys series. Middle Game is the first book. Seasonal Fears, which I was putting off and I thought that I wasn't going to read because I didn't know if she was going to continue the series. And if she hadn't, I was just going to leave it at Middle Game because I had heard mixed reviews about Seasonal Fears. But I went ahead and read it whenever she announced that she was coming out with Tidal Creatures, the third book. It comes out in June 4th. The Seasonal Fears didn't ruin the series for me. It just was so obvious how much better Middle Game was than that second book. I don't know what happened there. I know it's real, like it was hard to follow up Middle Game because it was just so incredibly epic and the power of the characters was so large and epic, but I don't know. So this is gonna determine for me whether I'm gonna continue in the series or if I'm just gonna pretend Middle Game is a standalone in my mind for the rest of my life. These are like, they follow different characters, so I don't think the synopsis will be a spoiler, but if it does, then I'll just cut it out. All across the world, people look up to the moon and dream of gods. Gods of knowledge and wisdom, gods of tides and longevity. Over time, some of these moon gods incarnated into the world alongside the other manifest natural concepts. Their job is to cross the sky above the impossible city, the heart of all creation, to keep it connected to reality, and someone is killing them. Okay, that already seems more interesting than Seasonal Fears, so I'm really excited. I had never read that synopsis before. That wasn't the full thing, but I'm stopping there. That was it for the fantasy category. Moving on to horror, there are lots of these that I'm excited about. None of them do I really know anything about. So let's get into it. I added this one because, listen, did I like Delilah S. Dawson's last book that I read? No, I actually fucking hated it. It was so disappointing. I read it in my NYC blog. Bloom was the title of that novella. I just would like to pretend it doesn't exist, okay? I think it's one that you either really love it or you really hate it, and I thought it was so disappointing. Such a slog, despite the fact that it was such a short book. However, I'm not giving up hope because it had potential. I liked the premise of it, and I think that I can like Delilah S. Dawson. I just think I need to find the right thing with this author that works for me. So this is a horror book that comes out October 22nd of 2024. It Will Only Hurt for a Moment. An atmospheric feminist horror novel about a woman trying to reinvent herself at a secluded artist colony, only to be drawn into its dark past from the thriller. Oh yeah, we already know who it's from. Sarah Carpenter is starting over. She's on the run, leaving behind her unsupportive, narcissistic ex-boyfriend and alcoholic abusive mother, headed for a new beginning at Tranquil Falls, a secluded artist colony. There will be no cell signal or internet to distract her. She hopes to rediscover her love for poetry and put back together the broken pieces of her life. And it seems like there are some ghosty, supernatural things happening here. She's been having strange dreams. Oh, and then something happens and she starts to wonder if someone is out to get her, or if she's just kind of losing it a little bit. I think this could work for me. I'm hoping it goes better than Bloom. Then we have My Darling Dreadful Thing, which I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I added to this list because I really liked the cover. I didn't know anything else about it. Has this author written anything else? It doesn't look like in English, so maybe this is a translation? Johanna von Veen. Did I say that already? This comes out very soon too, May 14th. But it's queer, it's horror, it's gothic. It says, in a world where the dead can wake and walk among us, what is truly real? And tell me you don't look at this cover. Look, I just have a thing for body parts and foliage. Whether that are foliage or mushrooms, fungi or foliage. Okay, if you mix those two components on a cover, got me, okay? Ruth Speckman has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the only good thing in Ruth's life. That's gonna confuse me a little bit, those names. I'm already not great with names, which is filled with sordid backroom seances organized by her mother. That is until wealthy young widow Agnes Coop attends one of those seances and asks Ruth, our main character, to come live with, not Ruth, to come live with her at the crumbling estate she inherited upon the death of her husband. Okay, Does that tell you anything about the plot? No, but I'm gonna stop there. Then we have Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. They are the author of Camp Damascus, which I recognize that name. I know it's queer horror. I haven't read it, and I couldn't tell you anything about it, nor could I tell you people's feelings about it. But you give me queer horror, and I'm in. Honestly, that's where the bar is at. It says, Misha is a jaded scriptwriter who has been working in Hollywood for years and has just been nominated for his first Oscar. But when he is pressured by his producers to kill off a gay character in the upcoming season finale for the algorithm, Misha, that's not the name of the show, to clarify. That's why they're killing off the gay character, is for the algorithm. I feel like the way I said that made it sound like that was the title of the show. Misha discovers that it's not that simple. Okay. It's kind of giving me American Mermaid vibes, which was about an author who wrote a book about a mermaid, and then in the adaptation of that, they're like asking her to kind of like Hollywoodify it, and then things ensue from there. That sounds good. It comes out on July 9th. Then we have The Lamplighter by Crystal J. Bell that comes out on May 21st. It is like, I think, horror and fantasy, but I put it in this horror category. And I think that this is a debut. I have no idea what it's about. Let's look together. It's an honor to bring light to the dark. The 19th century whaling village of Warbler is famous for its lucky ship figureheads and infamous for people disappearing into the nightly fog. In this murky locale, the Lamplighter is synonymous with safety and protection, and it's a position temperance this is a very hard sentence for me to say, and it's a position Temperance assumes when her father is found hanging from one of the lampposts. There we go. Okay. Oh, she goes by Tempe. Much better. The town is still hesitant to let a woman handle this responsibility, even though she proves competent. But then a girl disappears after 2 lamps go out, and her ability to provide for her mother and young sister hangs in the balance. This might be YA. I'm not 100% sure. It kind of is giving me like YA vibes. This also, I think, is YA, and that is What the Woods Took by Courtney Gold. I recognize this cover in the sense that like I can picture the other books that this author has written, but I haven't read them before. What are they called? The Dead in the Dark. That's the one that I was thinking of. And then Where Echoes Die. I feel like both of those kind of have mixed reviews, but it's so hard to tell with horror. And oftentimes like queer young adult horror really, really works for me. And that's what I think this is. It says Yellow Jackets meets Girl Interrupted. Unfortunately, I don't know what either of those things are. So sorry about that. But if that helps you determine what this is about, hopefully that's helpful. When a group of troubled teens in a wilderness therapy program find themselves stranded in a forest full of monsters eager to take their place. So Devin Green wakes up in the middle of the night to find 2 men in her bedroom. No stranger to a fight, she calls for her foster parents for help. But it soon becomes clear this is a planned abduction, one everyone but Devin signed up for. She's shoved in a van, driven deep into the Idaho woods, where she's dropped off with a cohort of equally confused teens. Finally, 2 camp counselors inform her that they've all been enrolled in an experimental therapy program. If the campers can learn to change their self-destructive ways and survive a 50 days hike through the wilderness, they'll come out the other side as better versions of themselves, or so the counselors say. That sounds like my shit. Now, I did have this on the list, and then I realized that it was originally on some sort of a list of like upcoming anticipated fantasy for 2024, or not fantasy, but just books in general. But then I think it got pushed back because now it says April 1st of 2025. But Erin E. Adams, who wrote Jackal, which I really liked, but I know, again, it had like mixed reviews. I thought it was really good. Is coming out with another horror book. It is called One of You. A mysterious outsider torments 2 Haitian American sisters, forcing them to confront dark secrets from their family's past. It's a powerful psychological suspense novel. And I'm so excited about this. I'm not going to talk too much about it since it doesn't come out for a long time, but it's just something to be on your radar, and also that cover is gorgeous. Another author that I absolutely love, but this one, oh, I'm so excited about. If you watched my reading the Goodreads horror nominations for last year, I read Our Share of Night, which was so large, and I was so worried because I've never read a horror book that was that long, and I loved it so much. I'm absolutely obsessed. If it wasn't so big, I would probably have already reread it. It was perfect for me. Like literally everything that more than I could have hoped for. And that author, Mariana Enriquez, is coming out with short stories. Now this might already be published, and it might just be that this is finally getting translation for and like getting published. So this might already exist. The translator is Megan McDowell. It says a diabolical collection of stories featuring achingly human characters whose lives intertwine with ghosts, goblins, and the macabre. And I just absolutely ate up her writing, and I cannot wait. And also, again, we have foliage and appendages. So this cover is very much my vibe. A Sunny Place for Shady People. That comes out September 17th of 2024. Take my money. I'm already in. It is a short story collection, which I don't often read, but I would read a short story collection from her. Actually, I don't often read anthologies, but maybe I could get down for short story collections if I found an author who I really, really love, because I also really want to read Out There by Kate Folk. So maybe that is like gonna be more up my alley than an anthology where like it's kind of hit and miss, you're not gonna love them all. Like most likely because they're all by different authors. Oh, then my man, Paul Tremblay. And by that I mean I've literally read, I was gonna say one book by him, but that's not true. I did read The Pallbearers Club, but I'm not really counting that because I read it because I was reading all of Kayla's favorite books of 2022. That like wasn't a book that I would typically have picked up, but The Cabin at the End of the World, I've read twice now, one of my favorite books of all time. I'm a fan, and I know most people didn't love that. Oh my god, it was literally so perfect for me. And he is coming out with a new book on June 11th called Horror Movie. I have not read any of his other books yet, but I was so excited to see about this one. It says, a chilling twist on the cursed film genre. In June 1993, a group of young guerrilla filmmakers spend 4 weeks making Horror Movie, a notorious, disturbing art house horror flick. The weird part, only 3 of the film scenes were ever released to the public, but Horror Movie has nonetheless grown a rabid fan base. 3 decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. That's all I want to read about this. It says that it's an obsessive, psychologically chilling, and suspenseful twist on the cursed film that breathlessly builds an unforgettable, mind-bending conclusion. That was the part that I loved the most about The Cabin at the End of the World, and probably the part that people hated the most about The Cabin at the End of the World was the conclusion. So I'm excited to see that. Another one that I added for the cover and the overall vibes, because it reminded me of, not the vibes of the cover, but the vibes of the book Rouge by Mona Awad, and then I thought it might also kind of be like Natural Beauty, which I haven't read yet, but I know the synopsis of that, and then I did see someone kind of like compare this book to those two things, and that is Youth Juice by E.K. Sathu. It says, American Psycho meets The Devil Wears Prada, outrageous body horror for the goop generation. I'm not really gonna listen to that because that makes me feel like I'm not gonna like this, but I think that I am. I think that this is kind of following that trend in body horror based off of like society's obsession with body modification and beauty standards and like the pressure that can put on people. It says it's got like some satire vibes, and I can really, really like that if it's done well in horror. From Sophia's first day on the storytelling team at Hebe, a luxury skincare and wellness company based in New York, it's clear something is deeply amiss, but Sophia, pushing 30, not 13, has plenty of skeletons in her closet next to the designer knockoffs and doesn't care. Though she leads an outwardly charmed life, she aches for a deeper meaning to her flat existence and a cure for her brutal nail-biting habit. She finds it all and more at Hebe. And with Tree Whitestone, Hebe's charismatic founder and CEO. This is either gonna be really good or really not my thing. Now transitioning more into like the mystery thriller, although sometimes, you know, what are genres really? We must ask ourselves. Other than just a marketing tool. I'm gonna be honest with you, we're just gonna kick it off with the one that I'm actually most excited about, but then I wanted to have a mystery thriller category, so I like found a few more that I think, but I never read synopsis of mystery thriller books, okay? So I was just kind of going off of covers and vibes for the rest of these, but this is like the one I really know that I'm excited about, and that's Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I am going to read this book. I know the Literally Dead book club is gonna read it, so I'm in. I am now on the Riley Sager trend, even though I know that it's never gonna get better for me than House Across the Lake, which I know is an unpopular opinion. That's totally fine with me. And I also think that this is Riley's first attempt to actually write from like a male main character point of view. He's always writing from young women. I'm excited about that. That's literally all I know about it, and that's all. Sorry, if you're wanting a synopsis, you're not gonna get one from me because I don't want to know anything. All I know is it comes out June 18th and I will be buying it. And also, I kind of fuck with this cover. I don't typically like lime green, but I'm liking the trend of lime green on covers of books. They just like pop, kind of like hot pink. I really liked that trend too. I will be snatching that up the second it comes out. I already have tagged on Libby to notify me whenever the library gets it so that I can instantly add to that, like get in line. Try to get it as soon as possible. Then another book called You Shouldn't Be Here by Lauren Tommen. Is this a debut author or have they written other things? It looks like they published last year I'll Stop the World. Don't know what that's about. But this comes out on July 9th. It says 2 strangers search for the truth behind bizarre occurrences no one else dares to discuss, only to discover that they're connected by secrets that could destroy them both. When 16-year-old Angie Stewart starts hearing a mysterious voice in her house, she's thrilled at the possibility of a ghost. Finally, something interesting is happening in her boring hometown. But why is she the only one who can hear it? And what does it want from her? And then we also have another main character, a first-year teacher. and she just got a new house in the town where her cousin went missing several years ago, and she is gonna find answers. I wonder if this is gonna be a Kindle Unlimited book, because you can already get it on Kindle for $3.99, and that seems like a Kindle Unlimited price. If you've read from this author before, you'll have to let me know what you thought. Then we have Perfect Little Monsters by Cindy R.X. Huh. Someone has murdered the queen bee of Sierraton High School. All the dead girl's friends are suspects, and each one of them has a reason for wanting her dead. She was the most popular girl in school, also the most hated. And when she's murdered at her own party, there are too many suspects to count, and too many people who think she deserved it. The police's prime suspect is the new girl. She was the last to hand Ella a drink at the night Ella died, plus all of Ella's friends with a motive for wanting her dead are more than willing to implicate Dawn. That just sounds so good. Oh, it's young adult. It's like mystery thriller, young adult vibes. I'm here for it. Then, last but not least, have I read a book from this author? I don't think so now that I'm thinking about it, but for some reason it's just an author that anytime that they release something new, I think in my mind, oh my god, I'm so excited about this. I love that author. But have I read anything? I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And that's a quick AMZ. And they are coming out with a new book called Little Rot, and it's tagged under a bunch of different genres. Fiction, thriller, contemporary, queer. It's probably a mix of a lot of different things. It's about 5 friends trying to outrun and outmatch a powerful underground world. Maybe this will be the first book by a quick AMZ I read. Either way, I'm excited. It says, one weekend, the elite underbelly of a Nigerian city, a breakup that starts a spiral, a party that goes awry, a tangled web of sex and lies and corruption that leaves no one unscathed. Little Rot is a whirling journey through the city's dark side, told through the eyes of 5 people, each determined to run from the twisted powers out to destroy them. That comes out June 18th. Can't remember if I mentioned that, but that is it. Those are the ones that I had. I'm sure that there are like tons of other books that I'll figure out that are coming out that I'm excited about, but let me know down in the comments if there's any that you're excited about that I didn't mention, if any of these now sound good, if you added any of them to your TBR. This is like the first upcoming releases video that I think I've done. I've filmed one before and then I don't think I posted it, or I got like halfway done filming it and something interrupted me and then I never came back to it. Something like that. I think that I felt bad because I never read synopsis, so I didn't know like what these books were about, and I was like, okay, but is it gonna be fun to just like sit here and listen to me read things? And the answer to that is I don't know, but I do watch people do this kind of video. So it is at least enjoyable for me. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave like one of those confetti emojis, like whether it's like the confetti party hat or the little person, you know, blowing confetti. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!